Hey friends, welcome back to Homeschoolology. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Niki. I'm a homeschooling mom of 4, currently an 8th grader, 4th grader, kindergartner, and preschooler. On this channel, I talk to you guys mostly about secular homeschooling, but just homeschooling in general, motherhood, our lives, all those kinds of things. So if you are a subscriber, welcome back. I'm so happy you're here to chat with me again today. And today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you what I taught at our homeschool co-op this past semester. So if that is something you are interested in, these are things that I taught that you could do at a co-op, but you could also do at home. So I hope you'll stick around and chat with me, and let's dive in. Okay, so this semester I taught a civics class and I taught a fiber arts class. So first I'm going to share with you the civics class that I taught. So here in the state of Florida, it's required for 8th graders to complete a civics course. It's not necessarily required for homeschoolers, but if we're trying to kind of keep up with like if our children want to go to college, we want them to kind of have a high school diploma, which Florida doesn't assign. We have to give them ourselves. But if we want, to make sure we've met all those standards, if they want to go to college, we try to like follow along a little bit. So we wanted to make sure that our kiddos had that civics credit that they need for 8th grade, since we have, since we have 8th graders in the co-op. So it wasn't just limited to 8th graders. We had an age range on it, but we did a civics course, and we started out by having something from Teacher Paid Teacher, and I'll share that if you want. We didn't love it. It was like, okay. I'm a super big notebooker. I super love interactive notebooking. I have a video on that. I'll link it here for you guys, or well, I guess over here for you guys. But we found interactive notebooking things from Teacher Paid Teachers. It was great. It wasn't that it was great. Wasn't great. It's just kind of a lot to condense into. We only have 12 classes. It's not even 12 weeks. It's 12 classes. So it was kind of a lot to kind of like squeeze down into that, but it was a good resource. But along the way, we found a free resource, which we loved, and it's called iCivics, and I did a video on it actually just it's going to be a video that came before this video, and so I'll link that here if you would like to know more about it. But basically it's for like like a regular school systems, but it's a free public resource, and it was really easy and great to use for our co-op. You could absolutely 100% adapt this to use in your personal at-home homeschool, but some of the activities were kind of group activities, so it might be a little bit harder, but for the most part, most of it could have been done at home, and it's a fantastic resource that we absolutely loved, and we ended up just kind of switching over to that pretty much entirely. We did still have them do some of the foldables, but it was a great class. We had, we did some fun things in there. It was a little bit more like classy than not classy in the fancy sort, but like actual, like we were teaching than classes that I typically teach at the co-op, because I'm normally working with like younger age groups. But it was still a great class, a great group of kids. We learned a lot along the way. I was actually not like the teacher that signed up, or the person that presented this class as a class we could do. She actually ended up had to leave for the semester. She couldn't stay for the semester, so it was me and my friend, who really don't know much about civics at all, trying to like piece this together and figure it all out. We did use the state standards to kind of like get us an outline, but it went pretty well. And so I would definitely say, I think my daughter was a lot more invested in it as a group class than if we had done it at home on our own. But it's a great resource, and I highly recommend checking out that iCivics, and I'll link that foldable that we used as well down below, and it was good too. We really liked it. Actually, let me grab that notebook so I can show you guys that notebook, what it looked like. Okay, so this was our teacher key that we made, but basically it was like a civics notebook, and it had all these little foldables in here. We do a lot of like fill in the blank stuff in co-op, just simply because, like, you know, like I said, we only have 12 classes, so 12 50-minute classes. They're not even a full hour. So we're trying to condense like as much as we can into them. So we don't want them just like writing. So we do a lot of like fill in the blank where I type out most of it and they just put in one word. But that was kind of, I'm trying to see. But so we had like all these little flaps, and we learned about all kinds of things like the history of our country, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. Let me see if I can find some of the, but this is where we kind of switched over entirely to the iCivics. We much preferred that program when we were, you know, once we got into it, that's kind of more what we preferred to do. So, but then our kiddos had this notebook. Oh, this was really fun, foldable. But our kids had this notebook that now we can put that in their portfolio. They met that credit. So it was really great. So let's jump over to my other class that I did, and it was fiber arts. We covered crochet, knit, embroidery, hand stitching, and machine sewing. And it was a great course. The kids really got involved. It is pretty darn difficult to teach crochet to kiddos. And they did a really good job. They ended up, you know, really catching on. And we had a lot of fun. So we started, my original idea was to do like 4 weeks on each, I originally was only going to cover crochet, knitting, and sewing, and we were going to do 4 weeks on it each because we have 12 weeks. But what I ended up doing was spending 2 weeks on crochet, 2 weeks on knitting, and then we did hand stitching, and then I decided to go ahead and add embroidery in, and so we spent like 1 week hand stitching, 1 week on embroidery, or actually it was 2 weeks on embroidery, and then we switched over to machine sewing because I kind of realized that it would be kind of crazy to try to do all the kids at once on machine sewing. So by them having learned all these other techniques, they could work on some of their other projects while we worked on machine sewing with a few, you know. So that process actually worked really well. And we had, you know, it ended up being like kids fell in love with one thing or another, and they ended up working on, you know, like some kids, a couple of them really loved crochet, and so they just ended up working on crochet most weeks, especially during those last machine sewing weeks. Some kids really, you know, a few enjoyed knitting, and so they just kind of worked on knitting the whole time. One really was into embroidery, and so, what are you doing, crazy girl?
I want to hug you.
I love you. So it ended up working really well doing that strategy. So it was 2 weeks crochet, 2 weeks knitting, 1 week hand stitching. We made a bookmark, like hand stitching a bookmark. Then 2 weeks with embroidery, and then we switched over to machine sewing. Oh, there's one more week in there. 2. Oh, okay. So 2 on crochet, 2 on knitting, 1 on hand stitching, 2 on embroidery, and then 5, I guess, was on machine sewing. And that worked really well. And we made a pot holder for crochet and knitting. We just did it, you know, showed the 2 different ways. And then we made a bookmark hand stitching. We made, I found online, I'll link it below. Oh gosh, what was it called?
At the time of filming, I couldn't remember what the name of the website was, and it was killing me. So I looked it up, and it's called Stitched Stories. And this is a beautiful website full of wonderful embroidery patterns and kits and all kinds of things. But if you scroll all the way down to the very bottom past all these beautiful, beautiful pieces, you will find this little section here, and it says free, and there's a mini sampler and a stitch guide, and that's what I printed off for my students. So the mini sampler, we'll click on that, and you download it, and it's this little it has a whole stitching guide. It has the pattern that you can trace onto your work. It has everything that you need to get started as a project. And then if we go back, the stitching guide is actually a whole little booklet that you can print out and put together, and it has all the different ways to do all the different kinds of stitches in it. So it's a great little resource to have, even if you are experienced at embroidery. This has stitches that I didn't even really know that well. So it was just such a great resource that I found, and I figured I'd share it with you guys in case you had anybody, if you yourself or you have anybody in your life who is interested in learning how to hand embroider.
That was really fun. Like, that was a really fun thing for them to do. And then for machine sewing, we made like a little roll-up case where they could keep all their crochet hooks and knitting needles or silverware or toothbrush and toothpaste. But it's like you make just a big rectangle, fold up the one side, stitch some lines on it so it has little pockets, and then stitch a ribbon on the back. So when you put your things in, fold over the top, roll it up, and tie it shut. And it was really fun. They loved doing that. So those are the 2 classes that I taught this semester. They went really great. And yeah, so that is what I'm going to share with you guys today. Those are the 2 that I taught. I do have another video coming up on like good homeschool classes for older kids. So that civics class would have been a good one for older kids, but I'm going to talk about like other classes that would be good for older kids, because a lot of co-ops, tend to be for younger kids, and then they're like, what do we do for the older ones? So I'm going to share that with you guys coming up. So if you haven't already, hit that notification bell and that subscribe button down below. If you have any questions about any of this, go ahead and message me or comment down below, or message me here, or message me over on Instagram at Homeschool-ology. I don't know. I guess I'll put it on this side. Because I'm always happy to chat and about these things with you guys and give you guys ideas and things like that. So I hope you'll come back and chat with me again real soon, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.